Don't know.
All right, guys and girls, the economy. What do they call that? That economy thing? The budget
The budget, the May budget.
is being introduced, and there's going to be some reforms, possibly. And we wanted to talk about an example of capital gains tax being entertained here. They're going to be changing the capital gains tax potentially, and what that means to Australians. Let's talk about reform. Stay tuned. How to think.
I'm the ringleader, so listen up.
Josh Wapshot, real estate extraordinaire, the man that, or what we call him in the office, the property economist. Good morning.
Mark. Morning, Mr. Mark Novak. How are you?
Good.
Good. Bit
Can
of
I throw this
a
out?
topic. I'll let you go.
Just lightly before, I'll hand over to you. It just, these, actually, I'm going to get to, you go first, Josh. You go first.
Holding himself back, guys. Reform, specifically ahead of the May budget, we wanted to talk about some of the things we've been hearing, whispers, articles throughout the news in regards to capital gains discount and that discount being adjusted. The proposers there is if you're holding an asset over 12 months, how it stands right now is over that 12-month period, you'll then be given a 50% discount on your profit or on the tax that you pay. And the changes that they want to bring, the changes that they're looking to bring in is either a shift towards 33%, which is the most likely case. More aggressive talk has been 25%, so cutting that benefit in half. But some massive implications for the market here, Mark.
Is this for owner occupiers or or landlords?
Investors. So this is to the investor market. They won't be touching owner occs for now, but this will affect the investor market. And I tell you what, it's not going to affect who you think it's going to affect the most. When you unpack this policy and the effect it will have on the market, it's probably more so going to affect those that are affected by affordability the most, wouldn't you say, Mark? The rental market.
Well, you'd think it does not affect the tenants. This is going to be a tax that we're going to claw out of these rich landlords, but the net effect, the poison chalice, is going to be tenants will have less properties in the rental market and they will be forced to pay more because the landlord is being beaten up, taxed, they exit stage right, they sell the property, and there's less properties in the rental pool.
Exactly. So your common metrics, guys, doesn't matter what market it is or what you're measuring, supply and demand, especially in a area like Sydney, very high rental demand. I'm sure we've all seen the videos from Bondi, Northern Beaches, where you've got the agent running a video along the line of people lining up to get inside. With these new reforms, those lines are going to get a hell of a lot bigger because, like you said, investors don't see the benefit in investing in property. They'll look for other alternatives to put their money, and that then pulls out the supply for the market for these rental opportunities. So, those people that are probably dealing with the most struggle in terms of affordability are your renters. They're your young professionals leaving home. They're the ones that are going to feel the impacts of this. And generally, when that supply tightens, that demand's not going anywhere. Prices generally rise along with it. So not only will be less availability on the rental market, but you'll be paying more for the exact same thing.
When are people going to realise that they're drinking from the poison chalice? When are they going to realise that when they are being told what they want to hear, but the net effect is death? like drinking out of the poison chalice. It's like, oh no, hang on a sec, that ain't any good for me. I don't want any more of that poison chalice. So when are people going to get that what we're doing is, like, I watched a brilliant piece last night with Costello, which was the treasurer. I think it was instilled in 96, and our economy was negative 200 million in debt. We're a trillion in debt at the moment, and he brought it upon himself and the government to say no, to take the hard road, to be the tough guys, not tell everyone what they want to hear so they get more votes, but actually do some solid work towards what really has to be done. We were an economy that had no debt. We were one of the most revered economies in the world with no national debt. Over 12 years, 10 or 12 years, they brought it down to zero. He said that was his greatest gift for his children and the next generation, to bring the economy into zero debt. Now we're at $1 trillion. It's going to be hard work to get this economy back in place, not taxing people more. What was very interesting, what he was saying was, on average, we've actually charged taxpayers 1% more every year. Fact. And on average, we've got those taxpayers into debt by 2% a year. Fact. Every year. And I was like, he's like, taxing isn't the way. Hard work and doing the right thing and making hard decisions. I've got to move over to landlords, Josh. We've smashed them. We've taxed them. We're taxing them more. They've left the market in droves. It's a scary number. We talk about immigration stuffing the rental market. Have a look how much taxation has stuffed the rental market, and have a look over the last 20 years how much landlords have been slammed, tenants have been helped, but the net effect, tenants are paying more rent. And that was not what the government or what everyone was after. They're drinking from the poison chalice. And why? Because they want your vote. They will tell the balance of the majority of people what they want to hear, so they stay in, so they keep their jobs. And we've screwed ourselves.
Definitely. And Mark, to touch on that point again, like this reform that they've brought forward, take a deep breath. This reform that they've brought in is a discussion around supply to the market. So, first home buyers, and opening up the supply. But, with this reform, just so guys know, basically this discount or change in discount, if it comes agreed to, will only come into effect for new purchases once that has been gazetted, I'd say, or that policy is brought into action. So all the existing property unaffected. So it's not like you're creating an event where, like a supply event where, people are thinking, all right, I'm going to go and sell prior to this coming into effect, because they're unaffected. So you're not really bringing any supply to the market whatsoever. And I think reading through my notes this morning, probably the only benefit of supply that I saw come out of this is there may be exemptions off the planned property. But from Mark, you just had a discussion yesterday or this morning to a prominent developer. These developers need a hell of a lot more assistance or thought into policy in order to get these guys wanting to build projects again, wanting to take on the risk, with what the hurdles and jumps they've got to go through in order to get a project from start to finish.
I personally worked with intimately the three largest developers on the Northern Beaches in my career. I talk to them regularly now. They are so passionate about how regulation and reform, Class 2 building, has killed their business. Now, I don't cry for them. They're in their 60s. They got plenty of cash, but they've got energy to build more and throw more into the grid, and they can't because it is so goddamn hard with all of the reform that's been introduced just in the last 3 to 5 years. We have given consumers so much power in building. We're gonna get these builders, and we're gonna make it. They had to jump through 3 hoops before. We're gonna make them jump through 300, and we're gonna deliver a better product. They ain't delivering the product, but they're okay. But the net effect: buildings aren't being built, rents are going through the roof. The reform is the poison chalice that killed the market. It killed the developer, it killed the landlord, and guess what? The net effect is that people are paying more for real estate, and people are paying for rent and for sale because there's no supply being pumped into the grid. And there's people really trying. Like Mins is up there making these great claims. I actually love the guy, even though I'm a liberal guy. I love him, but he's still hamstrung by all these reforms that were prior to him.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we saw the low to mid density changes, and look, it probably didn't have the impact. We thought maybe it would be a bigger impact on the market bringing that in. But once you throw in the reforms that we're talking about, policy change, then the supply chain management of all other materials since COVID, like, it's obvious because we've had plenty of sites and we're speaking with developers. It just doesn't make sense.
Do you remember that month? We were like, oh my God, look what's been brought in. This is incredible. Let's try to understand this. Think about that month when it came in. We were in shock and awe thinking, oh, this is fantastic. There's going to be supply coming into the market. Think about the last month. Take another snapshot and the reality. Pow.
Yeah, I mean, like maybe it was a couple of months ago, but there was only maybe a couple sites had been approved under the LMR, and we had landlords all for it because we actually held a night in the office, absolutely packed. We had the whole office filled out with landlords, owners, investors, looking to unpack this policy, bring supply to the market. Little did we know that once where build costs where they are, unfortunately, you need to be selling property at astronomical figures in order to make it feasible.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. The Lisa says
the community was scared and nothing changed.
Absolutely nothing. So it's very, very interesting to see the net effect of this. Before we go, I want everyone to think about the poison chalice, and don't just be told what you want to hear and say you got my vote. Think about the net effect on what you're being told, on what's being implemented, and where your vote goes. That's what we can do individually. And
I think Mark's just paused there, guys.
Sorry, if we want to fix this, $1 trillion is 1,000 billion. If we want to fix this deficit, the marine, it's going to be a real hard work. Reinforcing the reason why we got rid of our refineries, is it was cheaper to bring it in. Cheaper, labor, everything cheaper. But we didn't reinforce our walls, so suddenly our walls crumbled when we didn't have reinforcements like refineries and stuff around us. So some of the stuff we're going to have to do it as an advanced economy is going to hurt, but we're going to be better in the long run. Do not drink from the poison chalice with these scrappy, stupid ideas that we see people come up with that ends up just hamstringing builders and hamstringing landlords.
Definitely, and don't get me started on the negative gearing, which is another thing they're also talking about. Exactly. Yes. But yeah, you put it perfectly, Mark. It hamstringing the market in so many ways, and the people that end up paying the price are unfortunately going to be the rental market all in all.
You're killing the farmers. The landlord is the farmer for property. They plant the seed, they buy the property, they put a tenant in there for 10, 20, 30 years. The landlord is like a farmer. you tax the landlord more, you are taxing the farmer. The farmer stops farming if they can't make money. And when the farmer stops farming, there's no crops to eat. There's no properties to live in for tenants. You meatheads, Mr. Government. Sorry.
Exactly right. Well put. I'll stop him there before he gets too amped up.
Stop. Josh, Mr. Economist, thank you so much.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, everyone. Have a great
we
day.
know what we've got to do. Let's do it. Love ya. See ya. Bye.